Hello everyone, it's Bella Malloy here, host of Seek Travel Ride, and welcome to another midweek mini episode in our Cycle Shorts series, where I feature you, one of our listeners, sharing what it was like for one day of your trip. If you'd like to get involved in these midweek episodes, the easiest way to do so is to send me an email to podcast@seektravelride.com and let me know all about your trip, and we can see if I can share it on the show. This week, I'm featuring the story of listener Chris Ramaglia, and he's going to transport us to what it was like one day of his trip bikepacking in Scotland. Take it away, Chris.
Hello, my name is CJ Ramaglia. I'm at a Pilgrim's Progress on Instagram. Friends call me Chris, so I'll be sharing about a day on a Bothy bikepacking trip that my wife and I did together in Scotland. We were gifted with a book called The Scottish Bothy Bible by Jeff Allen, just the Christmas before this trip, which, as the subtitle tells, is the complete guide to Scotland's Bothys and how to reach them. So we were intrigued, so organised a trip up to Scotland to explore some of those by bike. It was our first day. We were in the Central Highlands as we prepared to set out from a cabin that my in-laws had actually hired for their own little getaway that we kind of piggybacked on. Yeah, that cabin served as our kind of departure and returning point. We didn't have a long way to cycle our first day, only about 20 miles or so, but had quite a significant elevation gain on just like some abandoned logging roads, obviously no longer maintained. And at the time, we didn't have frame bags for camping gear, so we actually carried all of our kit on our backs, which just made climbing really interesting, lots of hike bike stuff. Anyway, our first Bothy was called Glenbuck, which was pleasantly perched high above this really nice tree-lined valley with really good views towards Fort Augustus. The Bothy Bible provided GPS coordinates to get there and just some other essential information, namely a river crossing, which is good to know about when you're on a bike. En route, though, we were there in May. We began to notice a really significant temperature drop as a pretty ominous-looking storm began to roll in. So, unsure of whether or not our GPS coordinates would actually even lead us to the Bothy that we were hoping to get to, we began to wonder whether it was wise to press on or to turn back, especially considering we didn't know what stage the river was going to be at. A low flow, the river would be obviously pretty easy to cross, but flood stage would most likely just be too dangerous. Yeah, almost immediately after deciding to press on, we noticed what looked like chimney smoke in the distance. And only a moment later, we could see our Bothy clearly. With great excitement. Our excitement, though, of finding the shelter before the storm was quickly tempered by just the concern of who in the world might be in the Bothy to have started the fire. Were they going to be nice? Were they going to be weirdos? You just don't know. But our need to get warm overrode our concern, and we pressed on. So just shy of arriving, we found the river. It was really easy to cross, and fortunately, the couple who had arrived before us and had started the fire were super nice. We had a really great conversation with them through the night. We shared stories by a fire, very picturesque in this Bothy. We shared snacks, and then we all decided actually just to share the same room, to sleep in the same room near the fire, just to keep warm since it had gotten pretty cold. The following morning, we exchanged contact info, and yeah, they had become people already that we genuinely felt we had made friends with. And then we set off for our next Bothy, but not before finding that the river, which had been more or less a trickle the evening before, was now nearly waist deep and flowing. We laughed as I winced my way through the absolutely freezing water with our bikes above my head. Not once, but obviously twice to help my wife get her bike across as well. I absolutely cannot stand cold water. Yeah, so that was a bit of an adventurous part of our journey. But the best thing about the beginning of this trip that we had planned was that already within 24 hours of it beginning, we felt that we had already bonded more. We'd only been married a year or so at that point. And yeah, I think just being out on the bikes and in the wilderness facilitates these real bonding moments, which was really great for us. So yeah, we'd become comrades through this experience and other ones like it. It was a really great experience.
Thank you so much, Chris, for sharing that very memorable story of what it was like for one day on your bikepacking journey there through Scotland. I have to say, I've been to Scotland myself, been in those highlands, seen some little bothies, and often thought what it would be like to actually be back there with a bike. I could only imagine how grim that ice-cold river crossing was, but also just how delightful it would have been to, as you say, make new friends there in the Bothy, share stories over a campfire as well. And I really love the extra anecdote that you said how these shared memories together with your wife brought your friendship and your bond even closer as well. I love it. It's the power of bike travel, all these little things that we don't expect when we first set out, but to think that you came back with new friendships made and a stronger bond with your wife as well. That's just so beautiful. Now, listeners, as you know, I always love to give a shout out to my super fans who have bought me a coffee and are supporting the show. I'd like to give a shout out to Harry ODC, who says, "Support from a friend of Claire Wyatt. I love your show." Well, thank you so much, Harry, for supporting the show. And your friend Claire Wyatt, wow, listeners, if you haven't already, make sure that you listen to all of her 3 feature episodes on the show at the moment. I can give a little update. Claire has made it through Mongolia and is currently in the high mountains in China. Absolutely loving her adventure. Thanks so much, Harry, for supporting the show. Now, if you too would like to show some of your appreciation for what I'm producing here on Seek Travel Ride, you can also do as Harry did and buy me a coffee. I've added a link to it in the show notes. Every little bit of support that comes my way helps to keep me producing these episodes for you each and every week, and I love reading your supportive messages as well. Until the next episode, I'm Bella Malloy. Thanks for listening.